Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Warhammer Underworlds for the channel. Today Mollog's mob will be getting their second showing of it using their newly updated rival deck from the Rivals of the something maze, Nether Maze, I don't remember what it's called again, but that box that brought back 4 old warbands and updated them for present day Warhammer Underworlds. So we'll get to see how they do this time, going up against Drepur's Wraithcreepers, aka the Skeletal Horse Murder Ghosts, which would be a fantastic name for a death metal band. Let's take a look at the specifics for both sides and then we'll get started. So of course Mollog's mob is about Mollog himself. He is the centrepiece and they struggle if he goes down, and he's got 6 health and 1 defense die and a passive that, as we discussed last time he was on the table, 99% of the time isn't relevant, and that seems like an oversight. There's so few things in this game that will do 4 or more damage in a single hit. I can only think of the Headsman's Curse on his inspired side, the Wielder of the Blade, or if he's been buffed up by the Sharpener of the Blade. There might be one more that I'm forgetting offhand, but there really isn't that much stuff in the game that will do 4 or more damage, because that would kill most things in one hit, and that would be a little bit unfair. So I feel like the passive should be 1 lower. Maybe they tested that and it was too strong. Either way, Mollog the Mighty is our big Troggoth there in the middle. Then he is joined by his Spite Shroom, his Bat Squig, and his Stalag Squig, who does not need to start on a starting hex. He can start anywhere that isn't opposing team's starting hex or an objective. And over here we have the Wraithcreepers, who look all a bit too similar to each other, being led by the Viceroy Drepur, who is this one here, who's got the spear over his shoulder. That's the way to remember that. The Patrician is easy to remember. He's the one with the drum. The other two, though, they look so much alike. We have Sir, or Sire, Hackfell, and we have Grodrick the Lance. The way to remember the difference, and I'll try and do it myself, is Grodrick the Lance has nothing else going on with him. He has nothing fancy, no extra bits of tombstone, no birds, no nothing. He is nothing but that overly long spear. Whereas Hackfell, he's got a little bit of the old tombstone going there, and on this side of him he's got like a crow, or a bird of some type anyway. So that's the way to tell the difference of them at a glance. Hopefully that'll help with watchability. We'll get things set up, draw cards, place feature tokens, etc. and be back to talk about that after this quick word from our channel sponsor. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. And there we have it, both sides are set up. Mollog's mob are definitely playing a bit more defensively than they did last time. They are clumped together, including the Stalag Squig, who is right here. It's not a starting hex, but it is a rather defensive position. The Horse Ghosts, they want to get in there and murder. They're going to come and charge them. You know, there's not much to do to avoid that. So they're playing defensively to feed off of having supports. I don't think either side cares about objectives, really. But in terms of where the Horse Ghosts are, Viceroy Drepur is up there, the Patrician is back there, this is Hackfell, and down there is Grodrick the Lance. So I think that covers it, other than which objectives are where, even though, as I say, both sides don't particularly care. But 3, 4, and 1 for Mollog's mob, who incidentally will be taking first action in round 1. And then we obviously have 5 and 2 for the Wraithcreepers. There we go, rather. So with that, let's jump into round 1. And we'll see how Mollog's mob does with their second showing on the channel. It was the mighty Mollog himself who got the game started by just doing a movement action from where he started his 3 hexes, getting him as far as you can see him right there for planning. Also putting himself in the danger zone, but they'll inspire if he gets to half health or worse. Everyone in his warband, that is, if you aren't familiar. In the power phase though, he played Angry Bellow, which is, he has to be the one to do this because he's the one with the lungs to do it, I guess. Choose an enemy fighter within 2 hexes of a friendly Mollog, stagger them. So he has staggered Hackfell right there. And in the same power phase, when it came over to the Wraithcreepers, they played Horrifying Shriek. So I guess that was coming from Hackfell because he shouted back at them. Choose one enemy fighter within 3 hexes of 1 or more friendly fighters, push them 1 hex. And presumably in any direction because it doesn't specify. So Hackfell picked the Spite Shroom, who was within 3 right there, and pushed him 1 back onto the starting hex where Mollog started. Actually, they're also plotting things. So that also does mean when Hackfell activates, he will inspire, because if you aren't familiar, the Wraithcreepers inspire if, when they go to activate, there's at least 1 enemy within 2 hexes of them. Before we move on to the Wraithcreepers' first activation, forgot when the opponent completes a activation, the Patrician can use his reaction called Deathbeat to pick a allied friendly fighter and push them 1 hex. He has done so, so Viceroy Drepur himself is now 1 hex forward from where he was. And with that, on to the actual activation. It was Hackfell who immediately inspired, because he had an enemy within 2 hexes. That increased his movement from 3 to 4, and he did a charge action to get down here to try and pick on the Spike Shroom that he pushed, now that it's alone and they'd both be together. 2 dice looking for hammers, and boy oh boy did he whiff it badly. Now you might notice there is still some damage on the table, but it's not on his enemy. Well, that's because of the passive for the Spike Shroom, which is called Nasty Spores. Use this after the activation step, in which 1 or more enemy fighters made a move action or were pushed or driven back into a hex adjacent to his fire. And remember, a charge is a super action that's both a move and an attack action. Deal those enemy fighters 1 damage. So all he did was manage to get himself hurt, which puts him down to 2 health remaining, and he's in a bad place now. He was going for a play to score them basically, I think, 2 cards, but with that bad roll, he has put himself in a spot of bother. Well, we're sticking down here because the second activation for Mollog's mob was the Spike Shroom, who was, fancy that, a little bit spiteful, and attacked Hackfell, rolling 2 dice, looking for swords, and he did get one. And Hackfell, he's rolling 2 dice on his inspired side looking for dodges and managed to get nothing. So it got through. Now luckily for him, it's not exactly powerful. The minions themselves don't do a lot of damage. So it's just 1 more damage. So he's very much still alive. In the power phase, Terrifying Silhouette was played by the mob, which is a Mollog specific card. Enemy fighters cannot be supported in the next activation step. That's trying to give the Spike Shroom a bit more support, so if someone goes in to try and get the kill on him, they're not going to count as supporting. So it might help him out, it might not. Either way, Hackfell is 1 away from expiring now as well. Well, Viceroy Drepur activated second for the Wraithcreepers, and thanks to him being pushed earlier by the Patrician, who did not use his ability on purpose in that second turn of Mollog's mob, he started within 2 of the Stalag Squig, so he inspired. He then did a charge and went after the Stalag Squig for stopping next to him. Enemies treat every hex adjacent to him as snare hexes, so he's staggered. But he went in, and on his inspired side, he's rolling 3 dice looking for hammers, which is real good. And he got 2 successes. He went up against 2 base defense dice for the Stalag Squig, looking for shields. He did have a reroll because he always counts as being on guard, but he still only managed 1 success, so the damage got through. He needed a crit. And the damage base is 2, so that took him out. He is gone. That is 1 glory for the kill, but also 1 glory for piercing blow. Score this immediately after an activation in which a friendly fighter's attack action with cleave was successful. He has cleave on his... Oh, actually, wait, no, he doesn't have cleave on his inspired side. Only Hackfell does. Oh, that one doesn't score then. My bad, sorry. That one goes back in the pile. But Unstoppable Death does score, because that's a charge. Score was immediately after an activation in which a friendly fighter made a charge attack action in which they took out an enemy fighter. He did that. So, 2 glory, not 3, my bad. But it's also both immediately being spent on upgrades in the power phase. Pal of Fear is being given to Drepur himself. -1 die from range 1, range 2 attack actions that target him to a minimum of 1. That will give him decent defense, and he is scary on his inspired side, so that's worth having. And just because Hackfell is being given his carrion companion, even though he might be about to die, because hey, if he does get to activate again, it's a chance at potentially earning some extra glory. It's probably not going to happen, because he can't even activate this round again, thanks to having that charge token, because there's still too many left that could activate instead, so maybe the Spike Shroom will keep missing, who knows. Yep, Hackfell was very short-lived. The Spike Shroom activated again, still very spiteful, especially so this time getting swords and a crit. 2 successes from from Hackfell, because he was looking for dodges, but neither of them are a crit, so it gets through for 1 damage, which is enough that he is now expired. And that does also mean that, along with the glory for the kill, Natural Hazards has scored. Surge scored this immediately after an enemy fighter was taken out of action by damage dealt that was not dealt by a friendly Mollog. In other words, it was one of his minions. One of those 2 glory is also spent on giving Mollog an upgrade. It's been given Wound Up. Right there. Each time this fighter's range 2 attack action fails, give the fighter an anger counter. Where this fighter has 1 or more anger counters, you can reroll 1 attack die in this fighter's range 2 attack action. So it doesn't work at point blank range, but he does have range 2 in his basic attack. After a successful attack action, remove all the angry counters. Oh, before we move on to the next activation, in that power phase, the Wraithcreepers did actually play a card. Forgot. They are playing Heart Piercer, which is cool art. Play this only in your opponent's power step. The first range 2 attack action made by a friendly fighter in the next activation has Cleave, which will be relevant for what's about to happen, I'm sure. Yep, and sure enough, Grodrick the Lance was the third activation for the Wraithcreepers in round 1. Did not inspire, he was 3 hexes away from Mollog, and he did a charge action, stopping one away so he could do a range 2 attack action. Surprise, surprise. And he landed it, getting 1 success. He was looking for hammers. Mollog rolled a double support, and that scored the card that thought was going to score earlier, but it scores now. Piercing Blow. Score this immediately after an activation in which he friendly fires attack action with Cleave, which he got from using Heart Piercer, was successful. So 1 glory earned there, and also 2 damage. So that is Mollog down to 4 health remaining. Well, that certainly seemed to get Mollog's ire up a little bit. He activated, he didn't have a charge token, so he could, and he swung that, what is it called, makeshift club, I guess it is, it looks like a part of a boat that's covered in barnacles. Swinging it, range 2, into Grodrick the Lance, 2 dice, looking for hammers, he got 1 success. Grodrick whiffed his defense roll, so the full damage got through. It's 3 damage with knockback 2, but the knockback does not matter, because that is enough damage that particular skeletal horse ghost is splattered for 1 glory. No other cards scored off the kill, but the kill itself quite significant, because now there's just the Patrician and Drepur left on the table already in round 1. So that's pretty good, and no anger token or anything like that because he landed a hit. And that's their turn or their round over, yeah. And not exactly a bombastic end to the Wraithcreepers round 1 because the Patrician had to activate, he didn't have a charge token or anything. And he did a move, and he ran away from Mollog because, well actually he has 4 health, and so does Drepur, and he's got the -1 die as well, which will probably help him. The 2 that are dead are the weakest 2 because they had 3 health each. So they'll probably do better, but it would help if they stuck together. The Patrician does not do a lot of damage. He rolls a lot of dice, 3 dice, but he only does 1 flat damage, so he wants to get round and get after those minions for easy kills. And that will take us to the end of the first round, so let's see what, if anything, is scoring in the end phase. So at the end of round 1, no end phase cards for Drepur's Wraithcreepers. However, it's 3 for Mollog's Mob. Let's start with You Sure It's Asleep. For 1, score this in end phase if a friendly Mollog made no super actions in the preceding action phase and he's in enemy territory. Both those statements are true, so that scores for 1. Ignore at your peril, also for 1 glory. Score this in the end phase if there are 1 or more surviving friendly minions and 1 or more of those minions are not adjacent to an enemy fighter, for 1 glory. Batsquig and the Spike Shroom, neither of them are adjacent to an enemy and they're both alive. And then finally, normally for 1, we have a Looming Menace, which is a fun bit of art on there. Score this in the end phase if there are no enemy fighters within 2 of Mollog, which is true. When you score this, if a friendly Mollog made 1 or more successful range 1 or range 2 attack actions in the preceding action phase, gain an additional glory. He did. He killed Grodrick the Lance. So that's actually worth 2. So they scored 4 there, meaning it went from a draw to 7 playing 3 in Mollog's Mob's favour as we go into round 2. So as we start round 2, Mollog's Mob are retaining first activation, and they'll be doing something. I think Mollog is now free to just go after things with charge actions now that 1 card has been scored. So we'll see what happens as we go into this round with the Wraithcreepers. I feel on the back foot both score-wise and just violence-wise, which is not like them. Well, after saying that, Mollog kind of embarrassed himself. He activated, he did a charge action. He stopped to deliberately 1 away from the Patrician who has range 1 and swung that mighty club of his again, his makeshift club, and managed to whiff. Now on the plus side, sort of, that does mean that wound up card procs, so he has an anger token now. So next time he tries to do a range 2 attack action, he'll have a reroll, but that obviously won't be this round most likely. In the power phase though, Slippery as a Squig is being played on the Bat Squig. Once it comes into focus, there we go. Choose a friendly Bat Squig or Spike Shroom, push them up to 2 hexes. The Bat Squig has been pushed exactly 1 hex. We'll have to come over here so you can see it, sorry. There we go. He's been pushed exactly 1 hex, so he's adjacent to the Spike Shroom to support each other from the potential attack that is coming in now. Well, that positioning was not quite good enough to save them. Viceroy Drepur activated, did a charge action, and utterly ignored the Spike Shroom, so it doesn't get any damage for being adjacent to him or anything like that either. And attacked the Bat Squig, getting one success, which was a crit because he was looking for hammers, yes. And although there was one defense roll in there that was successful, doesn't beat a crit, so that does mean the Bat Squig has been bat squished and is killed for 1 glory. 1 glory is also being spent on giving Drepur Deathly Vigour, which is just +1 wound. So he now has 5 health. That does also mean he counts as a large model now. I guess he's just gaining girth. So if he's killed, he will be worth 2 glory. But it's just to keep him alive against Mollog, basically. Try and make someone a rival to him in terms of strength. Because he is doing, well, he's only doing 2 damage, but he's rolling 3 dice, which is pretty good. Well, the Spike Shroom had to activate, and he tried. He did a charge action. He does actually move. 2 dice, looking for swords, down to 1 die because of the Pal of Fear upgrade that Drepur has on him. And it did get through, but it was blocked. Or rather, it was a success, but it was blocked by one of the 2 defense dice that Drepur has on his inspired side, also being a success. So nothing there at all, not great. And with that, it is over to, well, it has to be the Patrician, who is going to inspire as soon as he activates, because Mollog is within 2 of him. Well, the newly inspired Patrician made use of his inspired side, which has +1 movement and +1 damage, to do a charge attack action into the Spectrum, and rolled 2 successes because the support is a success, thanks to Drepur being there. The hammer is not, he was looking for swords. The crit, though, was not blocked. Was that even a successful block? Nope, he needs dodges, so he was dead 2 ways. But either way, that's 2 damage on his inspired side, which is enough that the Spike Shroom is dead for 1 glory, but it's actually 2 because Massed Blades, even though one of them is using a drum, but whatever, scores for another 1. Scores immediately after an activation in which a friendly fighter made an attack action with 1 or more supporting fighters. Drepur helped his buddy out, and that got them their 6th glory. So now they're only behind by a single point, and Mollog is the last one standing for his former mob. Well, Mollog activated and did a movement action. Remember, he can't do any more super actions because he's already charged. He left himself 1 away from the Patrician because he has range 2. The Patrician does not. Doesn't do anything else this turn. In the paraphrase, so he played, it's not just a rock, it's a rock lobster. And what this means is you choose a fighter within 1 hex of a blocked hex, an edge hex, or a friendly Stalag Squig, so it's a blocked hex in this case, and you give them a move token, just because, to show that it's a thing, because we haven't seen it yet. So Drepur has also been given a movement token, along with that charge token he has. Well, wanting to stay well clear of Mollog, the Patrician activated again, did a movement action onto Objective 4 adjacent to Drepur, and during the paraphrase played Somnolent Beat, sorry. Play this only in your power step, -1 move from enemy fighters in their next activation. So Mollog, if he's planning on moving, is down to 2 hexes now, as we go over to him for the final activation for round 2 for them. Well, he opted to stay still. In fact, what he did was cycle an objective card, discard 1. Well, technically the way it's worded now is you draw 1, then discard 1, but, you know, essentially it's the same thing. The order of operations is just a bit different, and it might actually help. It's something that could potentially score them something in the final round, so worth it, probably. That's their round 2 over. Now it's back over to the Wraithcreepers for their final activation. Well, Drepur activated and he did a movement action, so that gives him a 2nd movement token, not that that particularly matters. And he actually retreated onto Objective 3, so as it turns out one of the Warbands did care about objectives because they're clearly camping them, and that will probably score them something now as we go into the end phase. Well, this is an interesting one because in the end phase, despite scoring a different number of cards, both sides are scoring 3 glory, and neither of them are scoring it via 3 cards, which I'll go into now. So, for the Wraithcreepers, they're scoring 1 glory for Dread Harvest, which is Scorvus in the end phase if 2 or more enemy fighters are out of action. There's 3 out of action, so that's 1. And they're scoring 2 for Death's Triumph, which is why they were doing those moves at the end there. Scorvus in the end phase if your warband holds 2 or more objectives in enemy territory. They hold objectives 3 and 4 in enemy territory, so they gained 3, but Mollog, well, it's not his mob anymore, it's just Mollog, scores 3 for Troggoth Triumphant. It's got 2 potential scoring criteria. It's the latter which matters here. A friendly Mollog is the only fighter in enemy territory. Run or fight, either way, it's probably going to be a disaster. So, both sides scored equally. That means the spread difference stays the same. As we go into the final round, it's 10 playing 9. Yep, in Mollog's favour. So he's ahead, but still only by that single point. As we begin the third and final round, Mollog's mob has retained first activation for every single round of the game, and that bodes well for him, as he's going to get one good swing at the Patrician, because he can't reach Drepur, I'm pretty sure, even with range 2 on his attacks. And he wants to be at range 2 because then the wound up anger reroll can be used. He's going to have one good shot at taking out the... Oh, actually no, he has 4 health, and he doesn't have Grievous, does he? No, so he won't be able to kill the Patrician in a single hit. Oh, never mind, that's not as positive as I thought it was going to be, but he has a little choice, I think. So as we cover what Mollog did, you might notice there's a friendly face on the table again. So he did a charge action, as expected. He swung into the Patrician, got 2 successes, a crit would have blocked it, a crit was not found. It does 3 damage, he lives, because he has 4. It also has knockback 2, however, so he's actually right in the corner over here. And then, Always About was played. Choose a friendly minion that's out of action, place them on an empty hex, an empty starting hex, sorry, and give them a charge token, which that part was forgotten. So the Spike Shroom is back, because he's just that spiteful, and has a charge token. Also, 1 glory is being spent to give Mollog the Grump upgrade, which is just one of the best art available. It's just him grinning evilly. It gives him access to the reaction. Use this after this fighter's attack action. If it took a target out of action, he removes a move or charge token. Sorry, 1. If he has more, that doesn't work. But if it's a charge token, you break the upgrade. So it's a 1-timer. But that could still potentially be good. And with the Spectrum on the field, assuming Drepur doesn't just immediately kill him, that might be a way to try and get at the Patrician. Oh, sorry, and presumably because it goes in order of operations of, you do this card, you see if the other side wants to play a card, back and forth, etc. Now that the Spectrum is on the table, it is presumably okay to spend a glory to give him the Getting Hungry upgrade. It can go on any minion, even though it does just show the Stalag Squig, that doesn't mean it's just him. This fighter is inspired. Breaking this card does not uninspire the fighter. That might also make a difference, because it gives him an extra defense die for a start. It doesn't up his health at all, but it does up his damage too. So that might make a difference. It might not, if he's about to die anyway. It won't make a difference either way, but that's another glory spent on that. Well, it seems the Patrician has chose to bravely run away, activating and moving his 4 hexes along the bottom of the table here, and staying well clear of any and all potential damage, at least for now. During the power phase, they played Enervating Beat, which is a Patrician-specific card. It's like the last one, except this one is -1 damage from the next activation. So if they do somehow find a way to do an attack against either him or Drepur, it's going to be -1 damage to a minimum of 1, but 1 would still kill the Patrician. Wouldn't touch Drepur though, with his 5 health currently. Well, he only moves 2 hexes, so he's not exactly following at speed, but the Spike Shroom activated, did a movement action and headed towards the Patrician. In the power phase, 2 more glory are being spent by Mollog's mob, 1 for an upgrade for Mollog himself called Chuck 'em In. It's restricted to him because it's the frog monster he's holding in his hand. It gives you a hurl reaction. You can choose to do either of those things: throw at an enemy within 5 and stagger them, or choose a friendly minion within 2, remove the chosen minion from the battlefield, and then place them within 4. So that might potentially get the Spike Shroom as close as it needs to be. Spark of Sentience, speaking of which, is being given to the Spike Squig. Again, just because it has the Stalag Squig on it does not mean it's restricted to him. They all have the minion keyword. It gives them access to the reaction. After this fighter's activation, draw a power card, which might give them more options. Well, the Patrician activated and he ran away again. Seriously, he is just scarpering. He is running, he activated and he ran away 4 hexes. What are you going to do? That's what he did. Second last activation of the game for the mob, and Mollog moved. Then he used that Chuck 'em In reaction after that, picking up the Spike Shroom, who was within 2 hexes of him right there, and chucked him within 4 hexes right there. They're trying to pincer the Patrician, although only Mollog has more than range 1. Well, let's see if he can weasel his way out of this one. And sometimes the best move is to not play. The Patrician didn't need to activate because Mollog can't reach him. Spike Shroom can't reach him. If he moves any hex around him, if he moves from the one he's in, he would get attacked. So Drepur activated instead, made use of the intangible passive that they all have, which means they can pass through impassable hexes, and just walk through and moved on to objective 1, just because. Well, knowing all they could do is move next to the patrician and not attack him, for their final activation of the game, Mollog's mob cycled an objective card. That's it. Just discard one, draw another one to see if that gives them scoring options. So now it's over to Drepur's Wraithcreepers to take us to the end of the game. And those wimps ended up doing the same thing. They also cycled an objective card, just hoping for that last minute snatch, because remember, they're one behind. So they do need to make up for that little deficit. It's not going to be super hard, I would presume it's only a single point. But let's see as we go into the end phase and tally the final scores. And so, at the end of the game, you know what swung it? It seems to be that the patrician having 4 health and not having 3 health is what has won them the game. Because if Mollog had gotten that kill, he would have been scoring our Carnage, which is a card worth 2 glory. That means they would have had a lead of 3. And in this end phase, the Wraithcreepers are scoring 2, which means they make up for the 1 deficit they had and then win by 1. They're scoring Inevitable Advance, which is the other reason they were moving around so much. Scoreless in the end phase if each surviving friendly fighter has 1 or more move and or charge tokens. And they're scoring Deathly Blooms for 1, so which gives them scoreless in the end phase if your warband holds 1 or more objectives in enemy territory. Drepur does indeed. So that means the Mollog's mob's final score stays at 10, but 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 by a single point. Drepur's Wraithcreepers win today. And here is your 2 surviving, victorious skeletal murder horse ghosts, whatever, dancing around to the beat of the patrician's drum. Not a comfortable win, obviously. It was super close, and that's the best type of match where it's back and forth. As I say, if Mollog had managed to get that kill on the patrician, it would have been in their favour. So it does literally come down to the patrician being one of the 2 of that warband that have 4 health instead of 3. The other one obviously being Drepur. They both have 4 health base. It wasn't even a fact of him being inspired, right? Because he had the same, he has the same health regardless of what side he's on. So 1 health is essentially what changed who won this game. A single point of health. That's good, because that means it was close, and that means it was fun. Thank you very much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Please do remember to show your support if you'd like to see future videos, and you could consider becoming a channel member, and you get early access to certain series about a week early before everyone else gets to see them, or you can press the thanks button, or if you want to pick up yourself something, go check out my channel sponsor via my affiliate link. If you buy something for yourself via that link, I get a little bit of compensation, and therefore we both get something. They carry Games Workshop, they carry most games I cover on the channel. Either way, enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time. Ta for now.